This wouldn't be good. I know that it seems like it should, but the way things are priced, gas, clothes, cars, houses, you name it, they're more expensive than ever. The rate that first-time home buyers are buying houses is at an all-time low. Homes being purchased, 2024, all-time low. And something as simple as a rate drop. I'm talking about interest rates. We see interest rates drop, and everyone wants the interest rate drop. However, when there's an interest rate drop, you're going to create a huge demand for everything. Not just houses, cars, clothes, motorhomes, big ticket items, anything that's financed over $20,000. So you can't get crazy with interest rates, because when you do that, you're going to cause a frenzy, if you will, of people purchasing things. And it just goes back to supply and demand. When there's a demand for something, the price goes up. When there's a supply issue, the price goes up. So you have to look at the market. Every real estate market is hyper-local. Every single thing is hyper-local. But when they adjust those rates, crazy things can happen. So look, when I say crazy things can happen, I basically mean people absolutely get into bidding wars on houses. And we don't want that in a market. It causes an unhealthy market. That's what causes home prices to skyrocket. And what goes up will come down. But what happens is this. Whenever rates drop, right now, just about in every city, every state around the country, we have not so much a supply issue. We're seeing more and more homes being placed on the market faster than the rate that they are being contracted. And as a result, we're seeing home prices stabilize. They're tending to stabilize a little bit, which is a really good thing for everybody, not just for home buyers, but for home sellers. You got to think, if you're selling your home, you're going to move up and buy another home. It doesn't matter if you're living in the same area, same state. So you want to make sure that prices are stable. If they adjust the rates, for example, from 6% to 5%, and they did that over a period of about 60 days, you would see an absolute increase in home prices simply because more people would be buying homes. But look, more people would be buying homes, but you have to understand, a home has to be sold to 3 people. You got to sell it to the real estate agents that are working for the buyers. You got to sell it to the real estate appraiser, and you have to sell it to the actual buyer. Most importantly, that buyer. The buyer can like the property all day long, but what if it doesn't appraise? That's the issues that we see when we see rapid increase in home prices. So what happens and how it works is the bank's going to loan you money. And you got to know that 91% of people that are purchasing houses right now, they get a mortgage. And when you get a mortgage, that means the bank's going to loan you money. If they're going to loan you money, they're going to make sure that that house is not overvalued. They don't want to loan you more than the house is worth. So they're protecting their interest. You pay for the appraisal, it's $400. You also don't want to overpay for a property. So what happens is, whenever a home gets listed for sale and it gets put in the multiple listing service and it goes to Zillow and Realtor.com and it's blasted to the world, right? Once that home is in the system and that home has sold, that is recorded documentation. But here's the trick. Are you hearing me? The trick is, it doesn't have to be mortgaged. So if somebody comes along and they have cash and they can pay cash for a property, and it's a feeding frenzy, if you will. In other words, the rates have dropped, or there's so many homes on the market, or there's a decrease in homes, and we have bidding wars because so many people are buying houses. That's when we see people overpaying for a house. And when they overpay for a house, investment property, or whatever it may be, that may be okay with them. They're paying for it. That's their baby, right? But now it shows up as a recorded sale. So you come along 6 weeks later to purchase a house. Are you with me? And that home that just closed is now a documented closed sale. So those people may have overpaid for that property. They paid cash, they wanted it, it was in their school district, it was close to mom and dad, or whatever the situation may be. But now it's a viable, comparable sale. And a real estate appraiser appraising the house that you want to buy can look at that and say, well, it's only worth what a buyer's willing to buy, and it's only worth what a seller's willing to sell it for. But if that buyer's willing to pay cash for it, regardless of it, whether it was mortgaged or not, that's what increases prices over time. You have cash buyers that purchased houses, they'll waive an appraisal, but that is still in the system that the appraiser uses. It's so important for people to understand this. It's not so much as appraisers use the realtor database to find comparable sales. It's the realtor database. It's the multiple listing service. When a home is listed with a real estate brokerage company, put it in the MLS. Once it's in the MLS, it has to appraise if it's sold. And the appraiser uses that database. So I tell people, we use the same database as real estate appraisers. We do. But it's the real estate appraisers that use the multiple listing service. That's the way it works. Now, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wayne Turner. For nearly 30 years, I've done just about everything when it comes to real estate. I have helped thousands of people purchase and sell real estate. I've bought, flipped, sold, rental properties, you name it. Done just about everything when it comes to real estate. So people ask me, Wayne, when will the market crash? I tell them it's not going to crash. It's not going to crash. Not in any time in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, because we have a supply issue. So think about this for a second. You've probably been living under a rock if you haven't heard that the border's been open, the border's been open, the border's been open. Well, the border's been open, so guess what? You do not have to be a United States citizen to purchase a home and get a mortgage. You can have a green card, you gotta pay your taxes, you gotta show that you've been on a job. So all of a sudden you come into the country, you get a green card, you pay taxes for 2 years, you can get an FHA loan, USDA loan, conventional loan, you can purchase a house. Think about that. 20 million people, that's the size of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee combined. We just went from 50 states to 54 states. So if you think the prices of things are going to go down, you have to really wrap your head around the whole supply and demand. We have added the equivalent of 4 states into the United States. And I'm just being quite frank with everybody. You have to look at the numbers and know the math, because home prices aren't going to go down. You're not going to see a whole lot of drastic change in prices unless something drastically happens with energy cost. Now, by energy cost, the most obvious is just the transportation of goods and services. You have to know that everything we own and possess is typically made either on one side of the country or the other, or in another country. So it's either put on a boat to be shipped here, it's put on a train, it's put on a plane, or it's put in a truck, right? So the average 18-wheeler runs about $35,000 a year, one truck rolling down the road. That's not to mention you got trains, you got ships, you got planes. But it goes deeper than that, because it's not just the transportation of those goods. A lot of people don't realize that so much of our society is made from plastic. And one of the number one components in plastic, you guessed it, crude oil. Yep, believe it or not, Google it. The stuff that they pump out of the ground, that crude oil that's on your rubber, on your tires, right? That also makes those plastic water bottles. It makes everything plastic. It's one of the key components in plastic. I'm not a big fan of plastic. People know me, know Wayne, I don't like plastic. I like stuff that's just kind of wood and nature. But plastic is something that's in everything that we do. And when prices of energy, as I call it, or crude oil come down, then it's going to have a trickle down effect. Now, a lot of people debate me on that, and they say, Wayne, that's not going to happen. And I say, well, wait, what? Let's go back to 2007, 2008, when fuel cost was at record highs. We had $150 a barrel for crude oil. $150 a barrel for crude oil. What did that make? Hell, gasoline was $5 a gallon in 2008 in Nashville, Tennessee. How much was it in your town? Well, look, it's more than just a cost of fuel. You have to go back to supply and demand. You have to go back and ask yourself, why is it that insurance costs so much? Why are taxes going up? On bottom line, taxes go up, especially property taxes. People pay more for property. They reassess that property. They reassess that property, you paid more for it. You're paying insurance based on that basis. Also, when you're in an area where there's a lot of claims, I'm in the Gulf South region down here, southern Florida, southern Alabama, panhandle of Florida. We have these things called hurricanes. You have storms, you have tornadoes. Whenever there's lots of claims in the area, like where we are, then insurance cost really starts to go up. Now, let me share a quick story with you. You'll find this very interesting when it comes to home prices. The average price of a home right now is $501,000. I know, it's kind of crazy. $501,000. Now, if you bought a $501,000 house when the rates were 3%, that payment, principal and interest, just principal and interest, would run you $2,112. That same payment today at 6.5% is going to run you $3,167. The difference is $1,055 a month, every month, for 360 payments, 30 years. That's like going out and purchasing a $250,000 house at 3%. You see the difference? Bottom line is they just kept the interest rates way too low for way too long. For 11 years straight, mortgage rates never went over 5%. As a result, the average sales price of a home right now in the United States is $501,000. So look, I think it's so important for everyone to see and understand things like big ticket items such as real estate are very hyper local, because they don't move. They're there. They're made out of sticks and bricks, and structures are made to stand for hundreds of years. So when you look at that, you have to know what is your market doing. That's when you get with a good real estate agent. If you don't have somebody, we can appoint one to you. That's no problem at all. But at the end of the day, just do your research. You have to know that the home's going to be appraised. The bank's not going to let you overpay for that property. But you do have cash buyers that purchased homes for cash. And when they do that, that's a comparable sale. So as far as the moral of the story goes, there's more people in this country than ever before. And those same people, millions, need the same consumer goods and services as you and I. I'm Wayne Turner. I thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Hope you like this video. Leave a comment. Share any ideas or questions that you may have so we can continue to produce videos just like this one. Thank you. God bless.